Look closely. It is not simply a face. It is a nightmare devouring itself. In 1940, at one of the darkest moments in modern history, Salvador Dalí painted this withered visage, dry and gaunt as a corpse that floated in a barren desert. But the true horror is not in the obvious face of death. The horror is in the details. Look into the empty eye sockets, into the screaming mouth. Other faces, identical, are there, and within those faces, more faces. It is an infinite regression, a mise en abîme, pushing the viewer along an endless loop of death and suffering. The question on everyone's lips is, was this a prophecy of a new global war, as the date suggests? But what if that answer is wrong? What if this was not a prophecy at all, but a memory, a testament to a horror Dali had already witnessed? For that, we need to look beyond the infinite skulls for a moment and focus on one small detail that is actually very disturbing: a handprint. To whose hand does this belong? Why is it there? Let's dissect this terrible vision gradually. First, the surroundings. The face is not on the floor, hovering against a barren, unending desert landscape. It is disembodied. This is a psychological environment of extreme loneliness rather than a battlefield full of soldiers. This is the emptiness and hopelessness that war leaves in people's minds. The color comes in second. Tonalities of brown permeate the painting. It is the color of neglect, rust, and decay. Being the color of death, it heightens the oppressive sense of hopelessness in the piece. Now third, the serpents, not merely snakes, but biting serpents, swarming and multiplying, assaulting the face from every angle. According to the Museum Boijmans van Beuningen, which currently owns this painting, these are traditional representations of violence and evil. They serve as a visual representation of the never-ending, unrelenting nature of conflict and the way that human emotion is rendered meaningless by constant assault. And lastly, and above all, the fingerprint. Dali claimed that the handprint he left in the lower right-hand corner was his own. Why? The signature serves as a declaration of ownership in the art world. A handprint, however, is a declaration of existence. Like the prehistoric paintings on a cave wall, it is a primordial mark. "I was here" is screamed. Dali tells us that he witnessed this, not just that he painted it. But what did he really see? You've probably heard the most popular interpretation of this painting, which holds that it is a terrifying foreshadowing of World War II. It also makes sense, doesn't it? In 1940, it was painted, but the reality is far more nuanced and deeply individualized. Salvador Dalí was not in Europe in 1940. He was in California. He was a refugee. Dalí and his wife, his eternal muse Gala, left Europe after Germany invaded France. In August 1940, they made their home in the United States, where they would remain for 8 years. Months after arriving in safety, Dalí completed The Face of War at the end of 1940. The important point is that Dalí himself stated that World War II had not yet provided a cortege of frightful images capable of impressing him at this early point. It was a flashback, not a prophecy, this withered face, this unending death. Dalí described the nightmare he painted in sunny California as a collection of vivid memories of another war, the Spanish Civil War, which had already destroyed his homeland. Did Dalí ever have a premonition if the face of war was the memory? He did, indeed. This is the Civil War Premonition, soft construction with boiled beans. 6 months before the Spanish Civil War broke out in 1936, he painted it. Take a look at this beast. It is a body, not a face, a hideous, enormous, twisted thing that is ripping itself to pieces. A country committing self-destruction is the ideal, horrifying metaphor for a civil war. Now compare the two paintings. The action takes place in soft construction with boiled beans from 1936. It is the violent, tumultuous, muscular struggle of a body tearing itself to pieces. The outcome is The Face of War from 1940. It's the quiet that follows the scream. It is the face that remains dead and hollow after the body has ruined itself. The soft construction with boiled beans is the prophecy. The face of war is the outcome. Even the seemingly insignificant detail of the boiled beans painting has a twisted psychological meaning. Dali himself is quoted as saying, "One could not imagine swallowing all that unconscious meat without the presence of some mealy and melancholy vegetable." It is the essence of surrealist horror. Even in the midst of apocalyptic self-destruction, one must have a trivial side dish. We need to comprehend the man who left that handprint in order to fully comprehend it. Salvador Dalí was experiencing a crisis by 1940. A personal crisis first. He had briefly returned to his home in Port Ligat, Spain, prior to his flight from Europe. Completely ransacked and daubed with fascist slogans is how he described it. Federico Garcia Lorca, a poet and close friend, had been put to death during the war. Ana Maria, his own sister, had endured torture and imprisonment. This is the visceral, personal trauma that plagued him. That handprint was a personal scar as well as an artistic statement. However, Dalí also had to deal with an artistic exile. His own movement had excommunicated him. Dalí had been formally expelled from surrealism by André Breton, the pope of the movement. Dalí's apolitical attitude, his refusal to denounce fascism, and his compulsive, ambiguous paintings of Hitler were among the numerous causes. But Dalí's blatant passion for wealth and celebrity was Breton's main grievance. One of Breton's most well-known nicknames for him was A Vida Dollars. It literally means greedy for dollars and is a perfect anagram for Salvador Dalí. Consider this. You're living in exile. A war has ravaged your nation. You have been labeled a fascist sympathizer and a greedy sellout by your artistic peers, the majority of whom are communists. You are completely alone. The handprint turns into a protective measure in this situation. Dalí is yelling at his detractors. You refer to me as A Vida Dollars? I'm just a commercial hack, you say? My pain is this. My wound is this. I am witness to it. Nevertheless, this is Dalí's Contradictions genius. A Vida Dollars was working diligently at the same moment that he was creating this utterly terrifying vision. He was in Hollywood. He was working on pieces like the well-known Lobster Dress with fashion designer Elsa Schiaparelli. He was designing the famous dream sequence for the movie Spellbound with Alfred Hitchcock. Additionally, he was working on a project that would eventually become the animated short Destino with Walt Disney himself. How can a lobster dress and the face of war come from the same mind? That isn't hypocritical. Surrealism is that. Fundamentally, surrealism is the blending of dreams and the everyday world. Dalí was just publicly displaying his contradictions. He was fusing the ridiculous farce of Hollywood with the nightmare of his trauma. He was utilizing fame and business as a survival strategy in addition to painting his trauma. The Face of War is currently on display at the Boijmans van Beuningen Museum in Rotterdam, Netherlands. However, it is still shockingly, horrifyingly relevant decades after it was created. Dalí was ultimately doing more than merely depicting the Spanish Civil War. He was depicting the psychology of war itself. He realized that trauma never really goes away, like a face of death mirrored to eternity in a broken, empty emptiness. It only repeats itself, over and over. Dalí's handprint serves as evidence of his first-hand account. But what do we see when we look into this face after all these decades? Is it merely a holdover from a troubled past? Or is it a mirror of our own never-ending disputes? For you, what does the face of war mean? And can an artist just be A Vida Dollars? Or do you think they have to be a witness to suffering Tell us in the comments.